Okay, so the first thing I noticed is actually quite compact. By the way, like one thing that would probably be useful as you review devices would actually be to tear apart more devices because I think you might find they're quite different. I've taken the liberty of removing like the many screws here because otherwise that might take a very long time. Let me just tear this top part off here. So this also includes the camera, so I'm going to have to be a little more careful here. One thing you will notice pretty much right away is that the camera is using the same technologies that we have for basically Mi Note to be flat to the surface. So you'll see it doesn't take that much space here. Because one of the reasons cameras tend to stick out a lot, like let's say the iPhone, is because typically cameras need some part on the top and the bottom to cushion it. But we actually have this part, and you can't see it here. We basically have these little two little rabbit ears, or like you can call them like two little handles on either side of the camera. So it's this patented technology that we use to basically suspend the camera and make it super flat. So it basically fits into this recess here. The other thing you'll notice about this motherboard is that it's very dense and compact. So as comparison, I didn't actually rip this out myself, but let's just compare it to like the Mi 3, which is another very good selling device here in Singapore. So notice right away that this motherboard is of course much smaller. As you can see from the deck here, it's a dual-sided motherboard, so there's the other side that you can't really see. This section here is basically the dual 4G SIM slot. So you can see it stands up quite a bit of space. On top of all that, it needs to still support all of these other functions. So it's a very dense motherboard. So, okay, who cares that it's a dense motherboard with all of these nice connectors? Well, the basic thing that it allows us to do is it gives us more space. So let me take this off gently here to fit a very large battery. So you see there's a very large space devoted to this battery. Because there's a big surface area for this battery, we can make the capacity very big while making it very thin. Because if you actually look at this, it's basically the battery and the thin display that sort of determines the thickness of this phone. Just going to move these to the side here. So this is the battery. And on the side note on the battery, you'll notice that the battery basically has these very like nice compact kind of connectors as well. You can even notice them here from these wires that come from the bottom. Let's see if I can rip these off here. So these are all like little details that you wouldn't really notice unless you actually ripped open your phone and took a look at these components. But you see it's actually very neat and tidy in here. Let me rip this bottom part off here as well. Okay. So you see that there's also a separate motherboard on the bottom here. So some other cheap phones you'll notice don't necessarily have two motherboards. They actually put the motherboard here on top as well. So it's just one single motherboard, which of course is a lot cheaper. And also then creates some other consequences. For example, we have another motherboard down here to support a couple of things. First of all, it's the USB charger at the bottom. Some phones you'll notice actually have a USB charger at the top. And that's mainly because this thing is combined with this thing. It's a lot cheaper. But that actually creates a pretty bad experience if you're actually trying to charge your phone and use it at the same time. So you have this weird wire running out from the top, which is not so nice. This also supports the speaker system, which actually feels better at the bottom. The reason it feels better at the bottom is because if you're holding your phone and listening to some music, it bounces off your hand, like this cup shape from your hand, and you can actually hear it a lot more clearly. And that's why we have it at the bottom here. You also notice, even though we have it at the bottom here, we actually have these wires, which again are not cheap either, that basically combine, connect these two sections here with these nice flaps here. We also have this wire that runs from the very side here, and this special groove that we made for this wire, just to connect here. So we could have just made things a jumble here, and just sort of have wires sticking all over the place, which is what you'll see for a lot of components as well. But what you'll see here is that we've actually taken the care to make this very compact. Okay, so when we talk about the engineering, precision, and the challenge of making a big battery, along with all the other features we talked about, hopefully it's a little more obvious when you take a look here. All right, I think those are some of the main points I wanted to make. I don't know if anyone wants to take a picture of this or not, but in any case, these are some of the main components. Of course, if I really wanted to, I could keep tearing this apart, but in the interest of time, let me just show you what it sort of looks like with all the different components. I think that